Vergil Ortiz accused of ducking Terence Crawford. As Crawford is ordered to fight Sean Porter, fans jump to that conclusion. We're going to talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you throw a like on this video. It goes a long way when you guys punch that like button, and it notifies other people of the content who want to be informed about the sweet science boxing. My name is Ego. This is your host. This is your one-stop shop for all your boxing needs. Now, you guys got to really subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest that I drop on this YouTube boxing. And I made a video about it. That's why you guys got to check some of the past videos so you get up to the date, latest and greatest information on what's going on. WBO ordered Terence Crawford to basically immediately start negotiating a fight with Sean Porter, as you guys see on the screen. Will the fight happen? I mean, obviously that remains to be seen, but that's what they're recommending or ordering. That's what they're ruling, that the two parties should fight next. So we'll see what happens there. Now, one concern that many people had, right, is that they're like, wait, Terence Crawford is the WBO champion. That makes sense. But the guy that was supposed to be months ago, that was supposed to be in line for the Terence Crawford shot, was Sean Porter. Now, we know those talks seemingly fizzled out, right? Kenny Porter did interviews. Sean Porter said he wanted to fight. Nothing happened though. So people thought it was just dead in the water. And then you seen the WBO, they took Sean Porter and took him out of the #1 slot, and then said Vergil Ortiz was the #1 ranked guy at the WBO. So people just assume, like, all right, the Crawford versus Porter fight definitely ain't happening now because Sean Porter is no longer in the rankings, right? And then out of nowhere, they announced Vergil Ortiz versus Mean Machine, and then now out of nowhere, they say Sean Porter and Terence Crawford must negotiate a fight. They got 30 days, then it goes to a purse bid. So what that is left is left a void, and people are trying to figure it out in their head and explain away why Vergil Ortiz is fighting someone that Terence Crawford beat already, that you guys see right there in Mean Machine, as opposed to fighting Crawford himself, because some people want to see Vergil Ortiz versus Terence Crawford. So that's where we're at. Why is Vergil Ortiz Jr. fighting Mean Machine? And I personally, I don't think it's a bad fight, but if he said he was ready for Terence Crawford and that was his spot, why is Golden Boy and Team Vergil Ortiz not really pulling the trigger for that, right? Because Terence Crawford, at this point, we know he's good, but people need to see him against people that have any semblance of a chance to give him trouble, because fighting certain guys just really is not going to do it. Like Kell Brook at the point he was at, Amir Khan, stuff like that, that doesn't really do wonders for his career at this point. We know that Crawford will beat those level of competitors, right? So some people think Vergil Ortiz style power could make for a good fight with Terence Crawford. So people are wondering basically what happened. Why is the fight not happening? And instead is back to Sean Porter, who seemingly was dropped. So they've surmised that Vergil Ortiz Jr. has ducked Terence Crawford. So that's the talk of the town. Everybody on Twitter is saying Vergil Ortiz ducked. His side ducked to Terence Crawford, because we know it's not Terence Crawford. Crawford has already fought the tougher opposition than Vergil Ortiz has. So he already said that. He was at the Maurice Hooker, because he's friends with Maurice Hooker fight. He was at the Vergil Ortiz Maurice Hooker fight. And Terence Crawford says he said he wants me, but he don't want me. And then it looks like what Terence Crawford said was true. It doesn't look like Vergil Ortiz side wants. Now Golden Boy has had no choice but to respond. This is what Roberto Diaz, the matchmaker with Golden Boy, said. Let me very clear. So he means let me be very clear, I'm assuming. Let me be very clear. Vergil Ortiz has never turned down anyone at any time. On the contrary, he wants all the smoke and then some. He is ready And when the time is right and the time comes, he will fight Terence Crawford and beat him like he has done everyone else. Until then, the focus is Mean Machine. So, my thoughts after reading this, it's apparent that Vergil Ortiz side ducked. Now, I'm not saying Vergil Ortiz specifically. He's the fighter. He's a warrior, right? He's undefeated. He's probably not afraid. I don't think it has anything to do with Vergil Ortiz. So let that be clear. But people around him, be it Golden Boy, be it the Matchmaker, maybe even Robert Garcia, I don't know. But to be honest, it looks like this is his team. And one of the reasons that leads me to this conclusion that it is Vergil Ortiz's team is because this is how Golden Boy typically talks when they don't want to make a fight, right? He is ready, and then it's followed by when the time is right, right? Keep this in mind. It says he is ready, but when the time is right. But the fans want to see the fight right now. So what do you mean when the time is right? This is obviously something Golden Boy has done in-house and how they've advocated in the past as well. I remember when the pressure was on Canelo Alvarez, who at that time was a Golden Boy fighter. When the pressure was on Canelo Alvarez to fight Gennady Golovkin, I actually have an interview with Roberto Diaz, and that's what he told me. He said, oh yeah, Canelo will fight anybody, but we got to let him marinate. And when the time is right, yada, 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 right? Same thing when it came to Ryan Garcia, another Golden Boy fighter. Ryan Garcia was talking about fighting Pacquiao. You could tell no matter how much Ryan wanted it, Golden Boy didn't seem like they wanted it. And this was the same type of talking points that they came up with. Oh, when the time is right, Ryan Garcia will fight Pacquiao. When the time is right, Ryan Garcia will fight against Gervonta Davis. We're building him up, and that's the type of talk. So albeit it might not be Vergil Ortiz, I don't think it is him particularly. I do think it's his team, because Terence Crawford, he has no reason to not want to extract revenge, for one, because this is a guy who beat his buddy Maurice Hooker and somebody who trains with him, right? And then two, Vergil Ortiz hasn't reached the level of stardom and prominence. He's still young in his career. So I really struggle to understand why it would be Terence Crawford, because he's more accomplished. He's been undisputed. He's a multiple division champion, etc. So this type of fight would be up his alley. That's what he showed us. He would, he's fought guys who were more storied than Vergil Ortiz is at the current moment. And like I said, this is an ongoing kind of theme with Golden Boy. He's ready, but when the time is right, and or let it marinate, etc. So Mean Machine, that's not a bad fight for Vergil Ortiz, but you got to let the record show, and it's crazy how this works for certain fighters, because when certain fighters aren't given credit from old media, especially black fighters. For example, Errol Spence, he wouldn't take no for an answer when it came to getting his mandatory shot. He said, I want to fight Kell Brook. Yeah, man down, strat season, right? He said he wanted to fight Kell Brook. He literally did not stop until he kept working his way up the ranks, and secured that #1 spot. So he had to go through the Van Herdings, the Algiris, the Bundus, and everybody who he had to go through in order to make that championship dreams realized. He was on the fast track with the IBF route, and he stuck with it until inevitably Errol Spence fought Kell Brook, right? That's literally what happened. And Kell Brook was even fronting Errol Spence off, and you could see why. He was calling him the new Jeff Lacey, saying he's nothing special. But when they fought, this is what happened. He made him take a knee like Colin Kaepernick, right? So that's what happened. And the point I'm making here is this: Errol Spence was relentless, and his team was relentless until he got what he wanted, which was that title shot, and it's been full steam ahead. Meanwhile, Vergil Ortiz's team, they had an opportunity where they were the highest ranked people within the WBO to fight Terence Crawford, but you hear what the matchmaker is saying. He's saying stuff like, when the time is right, we'll make the fight. So that tells me what I need to know. Anytime people are saying let it marinate and the fans want to see it now, the fans are telling you right now they would pay for Terence Crawford, and they want to see him in there with good names like Vergil Ortiz. He's a good name. He's a good up-and-comer. And the promotion gets in the way, and the network and stuff. So let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'm out.